few locomotives have created the stir that Rail Operations Group's Class 93 has. So I've come to Worksop in Nottinghamshire, where the 93s are based, and been out on a rather special test run as well, to see what the fuss is all about. For years, the West Coast Main Line was the domain of high-power, high-performance AC electric locomotives, until they were eventually ousted by Virgin's Class 390 Pendolinos and other multiple-unit trains from the early noughties. But now, there's a new Bobo AC electric locomotive on the block. And what's more, not only is this one more powerful, it's not just an AC electric locomotive, it's got plenty of astonishing party tricks up its sleeves on top. At Worksop, I met with Andy Grundy, Head of Engineering for Rail Operations Group, as well as Brian Ferguson, General Manager for Rail Operations Group Assets Limited. I wanted to learn about the locomotives in detail, and so first, Andy and I talked about the locomotive in depth, including some of those party tricks. Andy, let's just talk about the vital statistics of this loco. It's tri-mode, although I know it has actually 4 modes. But tri-mode from a power point of view. So it's got 25 kV overhead capability. It can draw that with a pantograph. It's got a diesel engine. It's got a battery. What sort of different power output are we talking from each of those?
So we've got 400 kilowatt batteries, which equates to just over 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
The diesel engine on its own is just over 1200 horsepower or 900 kilowatts. The third mode we can operate in is a hybrid mode, which is the diesel and the batteries combined, which gives you in the region of 1750 horsepower, which is equivalent to a Class 37. And then finally, we've got the overhead mode. So in normal operation, that's 4 megawatts, which is around 5,300 horsepower. But we do have the option of a boost mode, which we can use up to 30 minutes a day. And that gives us 4.6 megawatts, which is equivalent to somewhere in the region of 6,100 horsepower.
Okay. And what's the limiting factor? Why 30 minutes is your limit?
It's just the extra stress that it puts on the components in the system, in the traction system.
Okay, but handy to have it if you need
Oh,
it.
definitely.
And on the hybrid mode, when it's running on diesel engine and the battery at the same time, does it depend on what level of charge you've got in the battery, or does it not? It doesn't matter.
No, it'll give you the same power. As long as you've got something in the batteries, it'll give you the same power. Yeah.
One of the accusations that has been levelled at the Class 93 is that maybe its battery is relatively low powered and is a bit of a gimmick. It's also been suggested it drains very quickly, and his response is pretty robust. I suppose the thing that sets this one apart from almost anything else is it's got a battery, right? Mm-hmm. Is that just sort of like a little kind of nice to have top up sort of thing, or is it really fundamental to what this loco can do and how it does it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's fundamental. So in pure battery mode, you've got a completely clean locomotive for shunting. It's got the ability to shunt heavy trains in and out of yards to a point at which you can get onto the overheads. But when you combine it with the diesel engine, as I say, you've got around 1750 horsepower, so you've got something equivalent to a Class 37, and it's fundamental in raising the power of the diesel engine up to a useful level.
I get a rare opportunity to see the roof of the locomotive, the pantograph for 25 kV current collection, the top of the battery cooling system, and the exhaust for the engine. I ask Andy if the loco can switch to and from overhead line mode whilst on the move.
It can. We don't currently have clearance to do that
right
at this moment in time, but yes, you do have the ability to do it whilst you're on the move.
When the Class 93s were originally delivered, they had complex multi-height Delner couplers, but these have now been swapped out for much simpler traditional couplers. Andy explains why.
So the coupler that was on was the Cargo Flex coupler, which gives you, like you say, your multi-height Delner, and in the raised position you also get a shackle. which is very similar to a traditional locomotive. However, what it does is it reduces our flexibility, because the operating geometry of when we've got the cargo flex on is much less. We can run on the curve radius is much higher using a cargo flex coupler than it is using the standard UIC, which is what you see here.
Right.
So we freight operators at the moment are looking for us to have a standard shackle and hook.
Yeah.
And some of the yards that we operate in, we go down to very, very low curve radiuses. If you wanted to refit the cargo flex, we still have them. And
Okay.
if we had a contract that required down the couplers, it would be a simple process to refit them.
Critical for any locomotive, especially one that is Bobo, so 4 axles, and is looking to haul freight and passenger, is tractive effort, the ability to put the power down on the rail. I ask Andy if there's any difference in tractive effort depending on which mode the locomotive is in.
The starting tractive effort of 290 kilonewtons is available in all 4 modes. It's just really the speed that you can run at after that. So in battery mode, if you've got 1800 tons on, you're probably running around at 5 miles an hour, which is great for shunting in yards and that. In hybrid mode, you can go quicker, and in an overhead line mode, you can run up to line speed.
But in all modes, maximum tractive effort still available.
It is still available, yeah.
Well, without a doubt, Andy, this is the cleanest engine bay I've ever seen, and it's packed full of stuff.
Yeah.
Give us an idea what we've got in here.
And yet you can still see from one end to the other.
You can see right the way down. That is actually very unusual, but it is.
It is.
Right, what have we got?
So, if you look on your right, my left, we've got these 2 cabinets here, contain the engine and all the engine cooling system. On the right hand side here, we've got the cabinets for the batteries. So we've got the start batteries in there. So they're 24 volts to start the engine. This unusually shaped cabinet here is the traction motor blower for bogie 2. If we move down slightly, on your right here, we've got the compressor. And we've got some of the valves controlling sanders and horns for number 2 end of the vehicle.
And before we leave here, actually, I love this. Everything with a place and everything in its place. Look at this. So all the, chocks, and presumably that's pantograph. What are these orange
third
things?
rail kit and all kinds. Yeah.
And then presumably spare jumpers up here. And
so these are your ETS jumpers up here. Yeah, this jumper here. We'll go on. We'll talk about that in a bit. This is the multi-working cable for between the 2 locomotives.
Got it. Fantastic. Oh, very neat and tidy.
Yeah. And then as we move further down the vehicle, you'll see that these cabinets here are duplicated on both sides, and this cabinet is the same as that cabinet there.
Right.
So what you've got here, this is the traction electronics and the batteries. This traction electronics is for bogie 2, and this is half of the battery cells here. You've got half of the battery cells in this cabinet here, and this is the traction electronics for bogie 1.
Brilliant.
You can see this is the ducting for the cooling, and the level for the liquid refrigerant for the battery temperature.
Oh, that's when we were looking at the roof.
Yeah.
That's the coolant there. Got it.
Yeah. Okay, coming further down, we've got the brake frame. So all of your brake valves are on here. If you need to isolate anything with an issue, you've got isolating cocks for each of the bogies and for each of the systems.
I must admit, I look at that, I think I would not know where to start.
One good thing about this is having it inside keeps it free of dust, and whereas a lot of brake frames are on the outside.
Yeah.
Okay, if we move down, this is the earthing system. So the traction electronics are running very high voltages of around in excess of 1,000 volts. They also have capacitors in those cabinets that retain that voltage even after you've turned the system off. This is a safety system that allows us to earth all that down, and it will only release these keys to allow us to get into the cabinets once this is earthed down.
So it's effectively a safety interlock.
Yeah, safety interlock for the traction electronics.
Got it.
And finally, we've got the lower motor for bogie 1.
Right. It is absolutely immaculately clean. Look at that.
You don't get a lot of dust in these vehicles.
Right.
If you look at an 8-year-old Class 88, which is similar design, you'll find that it's not a lot different than this inside.
We have time to look at the cab. Again, a lovely place to be. Thanks to the shore supply being connected, the air conditioning is working, and given it's one of the hottest days of the year when I visit, wow, is that welcome.
Okay, so on the left-hand side here, first of all, you've got the GSMR radio speaking to the signaller. If you come across slightly, you've got the brake gauges, all pretty much standard from any locomotive cab. The switches and the lights underneath that are for the West Coast system. So that's the system that allows us to haul EMUs and control the electronic brake on an electrical multiple unit. In the centre, you've got the speedo, and you've got the AWS, TPWS controls, DRA. When ETCS gets fitted, that's the panel that will be replaced with the new human machine.
So the whole panel.
The whole panel will be replaced, yeah. We get into the middle, then onto the right here, we've got the driver's display unit. So this is the train management system. I can go a little bit into more detail on that in a little bit, but that gives all the information that the driver requires. Then over this side, you've got your controls for operating the different modes. Starting and stopping your engine, raising the pantograph, lowering the pantograph, and the mode switch here, where you're able to switch it into the different modes. You can see pantograph, engine, hybrid, battery.
Of course, it's one thing to talk about how these locomotives will perform, far better to actually see how they perform. And thanks to Rail Operations Group, that's exactly what I got to do. Okay, well, I'm here at Crewe, just outside where LSL are. We're just about to go down to where the locomotive is, the Class 93. It's been raining today, so we're hopeful, well, I'm hopeful of maybe a bit of slippery rail conditions, which should make things more interesting. Anyway, let's go and find the loco. Rail Operations Group have taken a lease on the sidings here at Crewe South, where they sublet some of the space to Transport for Wales. It's the starting point for our adventure. We had a bit of fun with shunting thanks to a problem with the set of points at the south end of the yard, but after a bit of moving things around, it was time for our driver for the evening, operations manager Rob Buchanan, and his colleague Neil Moroney, National Service Delivery Manager, to complete the checks so that we could move light engine to Basford Hall, where we would collect our test train wagons. We move off under battery power only, and Rob explains why this mode is superior in his view to using the diesel engine when shunting or carrying out moves like this.
See how much more controllable the locomotive is now working under a battery.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It's really nice. It's so controllable.
At Basford Hall Yard, we're quickly directed to the road where our wagons await. Again, all done on battery power.
Now look how controllable this is compared to on diesel.
The total weight of our train this evening is 1,792 tonnes, which includes 2 Class 93 locomotives. On our trip north, 93010 will be in the lead, with 93006 as backup only. Rob has deliberately not connected the multiple working cables, however, so 93010 is on her own. At 22:52, 6 Quebec 09 departs Basford Hall Yard, this time on hybrid power, diesel and battery working in harmony. We run underneath Crewe Station using the Crewe independent lines, and then climb the steep gradient to join the West Coast Main Line north of Crewe. Rob demonstrates just how proficient the Class 93 is.
Look at that. It's coming up without any issue at all. 1,700 tonnes coming up this gradient. I think that's pretty good. I'm actually having to shut off now.
We soon join the West Coast Main Line proper, and Rob switches over to full AC overhead collection mode.
Right, so what I do is I go pantograph up, pantograph's going up, see that?
Oh yeah, the little symbol, right. Yeah.
And then we'll get what the line voltage is. Okay, so that's coming in a second. So what we do is we go breaker in, transition across to the pantograph setting. There you go. So we've got 25 kV in the overheads, right? But we don't have the breaker in yet.
Right.
Okay. So what I do is the vehicle mode is in progress. 25 kV has been reached. That means I can put the breaker in. Bang, that's the breaker in.
Heard that go, yeah.
So what we now do is we can shut the engine down. So that's us now in AC mode.
It's pitch black outside now, and given Rob needs the cab lights off, I decide the best thing to do is enjoy the ride north. There will be plenty of time to film again on our return trip. It's 3 a.m, and we're at Carlisle Kingmore Yard. We've run round our train, and so 93006 is going to take us south back to Crewe as 6 Quebec 42. This is 93006's first trip proper down the West Coast Main Line as the leading engine. It is worth mentioning our trip up Shap, though, the legendary 1 in 75 climb in the Lake District. A greasy rail, a Bobo locomotive, 1,800 tons, and we went over the summit at over 40 miles an hour. Very impressive. A quick visit to the mess room in the yard, and so as to pop to the bathroom, and 6 Quebec 42 leaves Kingmore in hybrid mode, diesel and battery, at 0323. As we head south, and as dawn starts to break, Rob and I discuss some of the most impressive features of these locomotives.
So this blue band here shows the position of the power controller. You see as I drop the power controller back, the band drops. This one here shows the actual kilonewtons of power actual at the moment and what I'm asking for. So the little red line that you can see is very faint, but you might be able to make it out. That's actually the demand of what the local is the local is able to give. At the moment, we're dropping downhill, so we've gone red. So the red is basically we're topping up the battery and putting the power back into the wires. This is Plumpton. We're in a little bit of a sump, so we're going to pick up again and climb up the hill. So as we hit the hill, the demand will become more. And at the present moment, you'll see it's bouncing around a little bit, and that's because we're getting a little bit of wheel slip because the rail's a little bit greasy. There was a train in front of us, but it's cleared and we've had a bit of a fall of rain. The remarkable thing is at the moment is that we are running along on the speed control, and the locomotive is just sorting itself out, and it's really nice. And the battery, we left Carlisle, and the battery was we left Carlisle Yard and it was 9 or 10%. By the time we got to Carlisle Station, it was up to 28%. It's now pretty much fully charged. For example, we're regenning at the present moment. So what you'll see if the battery was lower, was you'll see the numbers coming up because it's charging the battery. As you've said, you've probably seen it, it's just changed now.
To demonstrate just how superb the performance of this locomotive is, Rob comes to a stand at the bottom of Eden Valley and begins the climb from rest. The rail is slippy, and this is a heavy load.
As you know, from Eden Valley, climbing up through Clifton and Louth, or up through Strickland and up to the top at Harrison's, is quite a climb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the train to a stand. So that's us now at a stand, and I'm going to release the brake and take power. I'm going to take away from a standing start. So take enough power that I don't roll back because it's very, very heavy. And I'll leave it. Take it to about 75%, brakes off, 1 mile an hour. And the railhead's a little bit greasy, so it's not an easy start. That's me at 90%, on a slightly greasy rail, on a heavy gradient, with a curve, 1800 tons, and it's not, that's it starting to slip now. So if I don't do anything, the engine sorts itself out. Now, earlier on we were talking about the wheel creep. So we're at cab number 2. So number 4 motor's the front one, number 3's the second one, and it goes 2-1. So when the loco starts to slip, once we go over the points here, it will really start to slip because there's oil and etc. on the points. And you'll see that number 4 motor will give up and start to creep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it to full power. That's it now at full power. And I'm hoping that it's going to slip and show you it. How steady is that?
It's too clever. It's
really clever.
And what I can't get over, I keep pinching myself. This is, as you say, 1800 tons, standing starts, slippy rail. It's a Bobo loco.
Yeah.
It's just extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. And
look at that. It has not missed a beat.
It's not missed a beat. We're getting a little bit of an inversion here with the weather. So we're getting the damp here getting compressed close to the ground. That can make the line challenging coming in the opposite direction. We've been very lucky for tonight's test because we've had 2 weeks of sunshine and it's been very, very hot. And we've had this drizzle which has been on most of the evening. So it's made, from your point of view, it's been good because you've been able to see how the wheel slip control system actually works.
And it has worked.
Yeah.
Perfectly. I mean, it's the speed that it's doing it. I mean, it's just extraordinary. You can hear it work.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
And you can feel it working.
You can feel it building up as well.
But working, it certainly is, you know.
On this locomotive, there's a couple of things that you can't do. And one of them is you cannot apply straight air brake to retard the wheels when they're slipping. So in a Class 87 or an 86 or even, you know, other locomotives, you can put a little bit of bogie brakes in and it cleans the wheels and it helps to stop them from slipping. As soon as you touch the brake, we'll put the brake on. I'll put the brake on because it's not configured to take power and brake at the same time. But you don't need to because the wheel slip control system's so good.
Just south of Lancaster, we are looped to allow a southbound Caledonian sleeper to overtake. We pass through Preston. I'm very much on home turf here. We're looped again at Warrington Bank Quay. Quick chance to grab a much-needed coffee. Approaching Crewe, we pass under the station using the Crewe independent lines once more, although one could be forgiven for thinking we were visiting the Eden project. And then we arrive back at Basford Hall at 07:27, just 5 minutes behind schedule. I'm still trying to process the trip and what I've witnessed. The West Coast Main Line through the Lake District is a tough section of railway. Eden Valley, Shap, a slippy rail in many places, 1,800 tons and a Bobo locomotive. Yet, it performed as if it had hardly noticed anything out of the ordinary at all. Truly impressive. When I visited Workstop the week earlier, I had asked Andy how he felt the testing programme was going. And, having seen a trip now firsthand, his answer the previous week really now made sense.
It's definitely not what we expected. It's definitely in excess of what we expected. We've been very pleasantly surprised by particularly the tonnages that we've taken up Shap on a damp rail. We've got up to 1,800 tons and, you know, taken it over easily, really. We're very excited by the life of the batteries. and just what we're getting out the batteries, we didn't fully expect this. I think we were told it by Stadler in the first place, but given the experience with previous generations of locomotives, we didn't necessarily believe that batteries would last as long as they have done, but we've been more than pleasantly surprised by the performance.
Rail Operations Group has taken something of a gamble with the Class 93 though. It's a speculative order, and although the team are working very hard to secure customer contracts, they recognise there's much work still to do. Here's Brian Ferguson to explain.
In terms of the customer contact, then I'm sure a lot of this is commercially confidential. I completely understand that, but are discussions underway and going well? Are you starting to see interest in this?
Yeah, we have, and it's been difficult, up to now, because there's been undemonstrated performance by the locomotive. But since we've done these load trials, we are getting that capability out there, which has generated a lot of interest. So yeah, I've got some really key customers that are interested, and potentially some customer trials that are coming up soon. As an asset leasing company, we need to manage the assets that we've got here today, which is the first 10. I think we're now demonstrating capability and proving how good it is out in the network. It's securing these first leases, these contracts, getting them out into the customers and carrying out workflows as they appear today. Once we can see that, and then we can then start looking at justifying additional assets.
Got it. So if anybody watches this and is impressed by what they see and thinks, oh, do you know what, that could be exactly what I need to lease or hire, you're the guy for them to come and talk to.
Absolutely, yes. Well, very keen to speak to other customers who are interested in brand new 93s, and we can start off a build program, almost immediately.
Mind you, I have to say Brian's job may have been made somewhat easier the more chance his prospective customers have to see this locomotive in action. It's light, it's powerful, it's a stunning place for the team that are driving it to work, and that does matter. The battery is not a gimmick, and I see that now. It is superbly controllable during yard moves and shunting operations, and working in tandem with the diesel, it does provide substantial power, and from what I saw on the test run, never came close to being depleted. But this is an expensive bit of kit. It does need to find work, and soon. Yet locomotives like these are the future of rail freight. We may have been running as a Class 6 train on our test run, but we ran at 60 miles an hour for an awful lot of the journey. On intermodal services on a mixed traffic railway, that's a train planner and signalman's dream. Rail Operations Group may have taken a bit of a gamble. But it's also great to see an entrepreneurial spirit alive and well. Good on them. They deserve to succeed. The future is bright. The future is electric, but it also needs to be flexible. And I hope very much that the future includes the Class 93.